This Saturday, I'm going to be going back on the Shaun Attwood show as a guest talking about, this time, the death of Kurt Cobain. Recently, I started looking into this case. I was 15 years old when Kurt Cobain died. And of course, I listened to his music, but I never knew much about the case. I just took it for granted and just assumed that this death was a suicide. I started looking into the forensic aspect of the case. And again, I was still pretty convinced that this case was a suicide. But then I started doing a little more research. I wanted to know more about the background. The more and more I started digging, the more I found out. And this case is pretty weird. I kind of understand why people are thinking there's something suspicious going on. So let's just ignore the forensic aspect of it. I'm going to talk about that on the Shaun Attwood show, and then I'm going to do a podcast again about it later. But I'm also going to do a podcast about the timeline leading up to Kurt Cobain's death. And just a couple of things that I thought were just very abnormal. One, there was a hitman that was hired before Kurt Cobain died, and that hitman was apparently approached by Courtney Love. Well, later that hitman ended up dying in a horrific vehicle accident. Also, the medical examiner who did Kurt Cobain's autopsy was in some way connected to Courtney Love. There was speculation that she might have had a relationship with this guy at some point. He was a promoter who booked her band Hole. So there's a really weird connection there. And guess what? He died in a freak accident in Switzerland, base jumping. So another really weird circumstance surrounding the death. And then the day that Kurt Cobain was found, or leading up to his death, there was a missing persons report filed. There were multiple searches of his home, and nobody found him. Then, surprise, surprise, Courtney Love hires an electrician to go out there to his house, and he miraculously finds him in a spot of the home that nobody was expecting him to be in. So there's some really strange things surrounding the death. I'm going to be talking specifically about the forensic aspect, the bloodstain pattern analysis, and the suicide investigation. And then I'm going to do another podcast just talking about the timeline and all these weird circumstances leading up to his death and surrounding his death. You can find out more information about me. Go to my website, go to my link tree, and then I've also created a PayHip, so you can buy merch, you can buy my books, check out my classes, and that's payhip.com/Jeffrey Gentry BPA. Payhip.com/Jeffrey Gentry BPA. Subscribe to my channel, and you're going to be hearing a lot more of this content.